Today we are going to be, hopefully, here we go. Hopefully we just had a discussion about this Super Bowl commercial. If not, sit tight, that is coming next. So we're going to be talking about satire today, and satire is one of my truly favorite things to talk about because it is a form of writing that uses humor, ridicule, irony, and exaggeration for the purpose of exposing and discouraging vice, folly, and morally reprehensible behavior. Now, this definition is written in this overly complicated way, but what this really means is using humor to make a point. I think the interesting thing about talking about satire today is that you all actually live in this world where satire is very prominent in the internet culture that young people have created. And so when I think about a lot of the jokes that y'all make in class where you're poking fun at something that's actually pretty serious in a way that's shedding light on how it is affecting people or how it's critical, but also in a way that's making people laugh, I think many of you are satire experts. And, you know, satire has a desired outcome of the rejection of a certain behavior. But this could also be like behavior in society or like behavior of the government. So, for example, the TV show Saturday Night Live is oftentimes known for opening up with pretty sharp, humorous criticisms of the government and how it's run. It usually has a sense of like outrage or indignation behind it, and it depends on a shared set of community standards. I think this is the part that can make satire kind of complicated. So I think, for example, of like the OK Boomer like meme that is very popular right now. And for young people, and I would even group myself into the young people who are dealing with baby boomers. Baby boomers are like people who are more like my parents' age. I get the joke because I have had experiences with baby boomers doing things that I consider absurd or making comments that feel really frustrating to me. However, if you show that same meme to someone who is older, they might not share that same set of standards about feeling that frustration, and therefore they might not find it funny. And so you've maybe experienced that before where you show someone who might function on a different set of community standards who doesn't really think that whatever you think is really funny is funny. The other thing is that when you're reading it, it often requires that a sophisticated reader recognize it. So sometimes people will read satire, like for example, this website called The Onion, and they won't realize that it's intended to be a joke, and they might feel offended or they might feel frustrated because it's just such a preposterous thing to read, when in reality, the whole function is to be funny. And so oftentimes if you're ever reading something and you're like, is this real? There's a chance it could be satire. Now, we're talking about all this because the play that we're about to read uses satire consistently in order to criticize Victorian England. And so there's some satire terms that you need to know in order to be able to really function through this unit. The first one is a caricature. So that's where they just exaggerate one particular feature of the target for comic effect. Sometimes this is a physical feature. Sometimes this is like a belief system. The next thing is irony. So irony is just an incongruity, which kind of means like a mismatch between action and words. It becomes satirical when the real meaning contradicts or goes against the surface meaning. So you might hear someone say like, that's ironic, because you say one thing and you did the other. A lampoon is a personal attack on someone's character or appearance. And then a parody is an imitation of a style taken to the extreme in order to ridicule it. So, for example, in that video that we just watched, it is making like a super broad generalization about what men who watch football are like in order to make a point. However, we all know that, like, the likelihood of a man actually saying to his wife, like, go play your games in the kitchen while other men are watching football is actually probably pretty low. So the techniques used in satire, the target needs to be clearly set up. So, like, who is being critiqued through the satire? Next, it's got to be super exaggerated and emphasize characteristics under attack. And it's got to be funny. If it's not at least, like, sort of funny, then it's probably not satirical. And then satiric irony, so that's back to this word that we just talked about up here, is used to create a discrepancy or, again, like a mismatch between what the characters say and do and what the audience understands by their words and actions. So at this point, your paper should look like my paper. There's another video to talk through the beginning of advice to little girls, but that is an introduction to satire.